economic relationship with Communist China has been a disaster for the United States of America. A disaster. And it's in the making, and we can see it coming. But we have people trying to prevent the American people from understanding the significance of what's been going on for these last 10 years. Economically, we've had year after year after year of massive trade surplus with Communist China. What does that mean for the people of the United States? We're just going to laugh that off? Where they've got a trade surplus, they allow us to import all of their goods while they put restrictions on our goods. In terms of our national security, they have used that trade surplus, which will be $80 billion this year, to build up their military. And who do you think is being threatened by this military buildup of the Communist Chinese? They now have the capability of murdering millions of Americans with nuclear weapons that they didn't have that capability 10 years ago. Based on our technology and our money. I consider that a disastrous policy. And morally has this worked in our benefit? To have this relationship, which people now want to make permanent? That's what this is about, making a disastrous relationship with Communist China permanent. What has it done morally? Today, the democratic movement in China, which used to be healthy, has been smashed. Religious believers are being persecuted, even to the point where people who believe in meditation and yoga are being thrown into prison by the thousands. Tibet, the genocide goes on. The Communist Chinese could drop an atomic bomb on Tibet and murder millions of people, and our business community would still be up here saying, well, how are we going to cut off progress by trying to confront them with this? No, we have to maintain our engagement. PNTR basically says that we are going to make permanent the relationship that we have had for the last 10 years with Communist China. Freeze it. We're going to freeze it. Oh, no. They're going to say, oh, no, you're wrong, Dana. They're going to bring down their unfair tariffs that they've had. No, I'm afraid not. What will happen is these tariffs, which have been disproportionate, monstrously disproportionate, will be brought down a little. They will still have a huge tariff disparity between the United States and China. In other words, they'll continue flooding our market with our goods. But what will happen? If we have a dispute with them in the future, if we pass PNTR, we've taken all of our bullets out of our gun to enforce our decisions. We're giving it to the World Trade Organization. Instead of being able to enforce our agreements with China, which we haven't been able to enforce before, and they've broken their agreements with us, we're going to rely on panels and commissions of the World Trade Organization. We've been told that if we engage with China, that we will liberalize China. We will make them more like us. They will become more democratic. It's gone the opposite direction. We have been dealing with gangsters, and right now we're talking about putting the gangsters into the Chamber of Commerce. What makes you think that dealing with a gangster is going to do anything but corrupt your people rather than making him any better? The debate is not about isolating China. Don't let anybody fool you. This is not about isolating China. It's not about severing our relations with China. You will hear that over and over and over again in this debate. That is a ruse. It's not true. It's trying to get us off what this debate is really about. What are we going to achieve by this decision today on permanent normal trade relations with China? What we're talking about is continuing to allow our big businessmen to massively invest in China with government guarantees through the Export-Import Bank and subsidized loans and guaranteed loans. That's the bottom line. That's what's pushing this. We have people closing factories in the United States, opening them up to use slave labor in China, and they want the taxpayers to guarantee that. They don't care about morality. They don't care about human rights. Don't let anybody, that's a joke. We are taking away, even with Mr. Levin's proposal, we are taking away our ability to enforce any type of human rights standards that we have been trying to push on Communist China, and they know it. They know that we're taking away our rights even to discuss it on the floor of the House every year, which has been one of the only things that have held them back. And even with that type of control on their, or at least influence on them, they've gone in the opposite direction. Let me close by saying this. And I realize people who believe on the other side of this are sincere. They believe they're trying to better the prospects for peace in this world and better the prospects for freedom, which I think is nonsense. You don't treat tyrants that way. But we've tried this before. The world has tried this before. You know, we remember Neville Chamberlain as the man who gave away Czechoslovakia to Hitler in Munich. But we don't remember what Neville Chamberlain did in the years prior to Munich when Hitler had taken over Nazi Germany. Neville Chamberlain led up to Munich by creating an economic task force designed to invest in Germany so that the Germans would have so many economic ties they would never think of violating the peace. It reads almost verbatim the argument that we're getting today. You don't make a liberal by hugging a Nazi. You don't treat gangsters as if they're Democrats and expect them to be democratic people. No, we must stand together with the people in China who long for freedom and justice, and we won't do that by kowtowing to these dictators in Beijing and giving them what they want. Don't give me this, the hardliners don't want us to give them this. The hardliners want to continue to have the type of trade surpluses that they've had and want us to have to only rely on the WTO if they break their word to us. This whole idea of permanent normal trade relations with China is against the interest of the people of the United States, against our moral position, and has undermined our national security as we wake up to find that we've built a monster that is capable, with the weapon systems and technologies that we've provided them, of killing millions of Americans. I call on my colleagues to oppose normal trade relations with this monstrous regime in communist China. And I reserve the balance of my time.